powered by MPB. This is the MPB Student Council podcast, hosted by members of MPB Student Council. To hear this episode and more, visit education.mpbonline.org or download the MPB Public Media app to listen on your iPhone or Android device.
Hear ye, hear ye. Welcome to this MPB Student Council podcast. This is our Student Council recap and back to school episode. This episode features council members Corinne Allen, Jenna Dent, and Kaylen Woodard, and MPB's education team, Dr. Tara Y. Wren, Director of Education, Erica Shelton, Audience Engagement Manager, Germaine Flood, podcast host, and Jasmine Harvey, Student Engagement Specialist. Listen as council members recap their fondest memories during their first year term, discuss their experiences from returning to school, and the importance of school safety.
So we'll start with you, Jenna. So tell me, how would you describe your personal growth during your first year on the Student Council?
I would describe my personal growth as incredibly abundant. I've met many people and conducted myself socially and learned how to conduct that a lot better than how I have previously done it before. I have also gotten an abundance of education from this council and from my peers on the council. Through their experience and my experience, we all share it together, and I've just learned a ton.
What about you, Kaylen?
Going on to what Jenna said, I would describe mine as like a learning experience, because this council has taught me a lot about being able to voice my opinion and let my voice be heard around my state. I've met many new people, just like Jenna. It opened many doors for me that I thought I would never be able to open, on my own as a person, just going as a school. So I've really described my experience as a great learning experience in general.
That's wonderful. And Corinne?
I would describe my personal growth as, like Kaylen said, a learning experience, because it kind of taught me a little bit about like myself and how I can communicate with other people, and just helping people just around me and working together in teams.
Okay, I'll pose this one to Jenna. During the council term, you all were able to record 7 podcast episodes. Those episodes included, of course, Teachers Who Teach Uniquely, School Dress Codes, the Parent and Teen Communication Divide, Mississippi Small Business and Young Entrepreneurs Awareness, Mental Health Awareness Roundtable, Behind the Scenes at MPB Summer Learning Family Fun Day 2022, and a spotlight on McKenna Meade. What was your favorite episode and what did you learn?
I think my favorites were either Teachers Who Teach Uniquely or Mental Health Awareness. I think that it's just so important and so vital to the state and the children in the state to have good teachers who truly care for them and open possibilities for them to learn in ways that other teachers previously hadn't. And I just think it's so amazing that we could feature them and maybe other teachers could learn from them, because every child deserves that opportunity to get their proper education in Mississippi.
Same question goes for you, Kaylen. What was your favorite episode and what did you learn?
I would say my favorite episode would have to go on to the dress code episode, because here, I know, especially at my school, the dress code is a big thing, and I feel like it's a big injustice for girls especially. I feel like I learned a lot because it taught me, that it just doesn't happen here. It's like a statewide problem that needs to be fixed, because the dress code, it doesn't have to be as strict as it is. I feel like they could be more lenient onto what we wear at school, just as they be as lenient with the boys.
Okay, and final post question. This goes to Corinne, you as well. What was your favorite podcast episode and what did you learn from it?
I think that my favorite episode probably have been our small business episode, because it just gave me more businesses to look out for, and I love like supporting small businesses. So it just gave me a new place to look for things that I may need.
Okay, the next question that we have for you all, what is your most memorable moment in the council? And that question can go to Kaylen.
My most memorable moment will be when we first had our in-person meeting. I would say that because of all the laughter and the jokes that we had when playing like the two truths and a lie, and eating the pizza. Ooh, it was so much pizza. I've never ate so much pizza. And then we had to take pizza home, and like they wouldn't let me leave without pizza. It's just pizza on top of pizza. And it was really nice because you got to meet everyone in person instead of just seeing them through a computer screen. You're able to physically, hug them and just tell them about everything that you got going on with school and the council. So I find that to be my memorable moment.
Thank you, Kaylen. Jenna, what was your most memorable moment?
I have to agree with Kaylen. I think that that is just such a prominent memory throughout this whole experience. Just being able to see everyone and interact with everyone physically and touring the MPB building and seeing where all the magic happens. It was such a great experience.
Thank you. Corinne, what was your favorite moment?
I think probably has to be when our very first just Zoom meeting as a whole student council, because even though we didn't see each other in person, it was still cool to be like, I'm going to be working with this group of people, and it was just cool to just see how everybody thought and just to actually just meet them.
So we are about to conclude part 1 of the segment of our student council episode, a recap of the first year term. As you all know, we are getting ready to start recruiting for new student council members. So I'm going to pose this question to Corinne. Corinne, I would like to know, what advice would you give to a future council member to be successful in the MPB Student Council?
Be ready to have a lot of fun, probably, because working with this group, with you guys, with the MPB team and the rest of the council, it was a lot of fun. And also be ready to learn a lot just about yourself and how business works and communication, and also learning about yourself and how well you work with people and learning how to make your ideas be known.
Great answer, Corinne. I think that's going to be very valuable to the next members to come. So the next person I want to pose this question to as well will be Jenna. What advice would you offer a future council member to be successful in the council?
I would definitely say bring a pencil and paper to your meetings because there will be information you need to know. You will always learn something through an interaction you have with this team. You will always need to be yourself because this council is for the students. It is to help us vocalize our opinions and our thoughts and relay them back to the MPB team. That is what this is for. And you just need to be yourself and take notes.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Take notes and be yourself. We're looking for creative members that can come on and give us ideas and be confident in those ideas as well as be good note takers. So I'm going to pose this last question to Kaylen. What advice would you give to a future council member?
I would tell a future council member to be ready to create a new family when they become on Zoom meetings, because the moment that we had our first Zoom meetings, you guys, the student council team has welcomed us with nothing but kindness and throughout the whole experience. And relating back to what Jenna said, to being yourself, it's very important to be yourself, because with you being yourself is what creates each part of the student council as a whole, to make everyone feel like their voice is being heard and that their opinions matter. So with you being yourself, you all create the whole student council and the podcast as itself. So I feel like being yourself is a very important step and a part into joining the student council podcast.
Thank you, Kaylen. This concludes our first part. And as Kaylen said, we are one big family. We're looking forward to our new council members that will join, the council members that are planning to return. And so now we're going to segue into part 2 of our podcast discussion, which is talking about returning back to school. So I'm going to turn it over to Germaine for our first question.
Okay, and now going back to school for this year, what is something that you are looking forward to this school year, Kaylen?
I'm looking forward to meeting all the new people, because in my school, there's a whole bunch of people, and you may have friends from your old school, but it doesn't hurt to make any new friends and explore different groups of friend groups to have throughout the school year.
And Corinne, what about you? What are you looking forward to the most this year?
I'm looking forward to football season because it's been my dream to, cheer under the Friday night lights. And now that I'm in high school, it's finally here. And it seems like it's going to be a really fun experience.
Especially with you being a cheerleader, of course,
Yes.
for Friday Night Lights.
And the pep rallies and the Meet the Tigers and all of that stuff.
And Jenna, what about you? What are you looking forward to your senior year in high school?
I'm really looking forward to my ceramics class that I'm going to be able to take second semester. I took ceramics 1 last year and I really loved it. I like doing things with my hands and just fiddling and creating. And I'm also really looking forward to my high-tech video production class. We get to make 3 short films this year.
Okay, so I have the next question. We all know that we're all transitioning from different grades. We have those that are transitioning from middle school to high school, and then we have those that are going to their senior year. So we do plan to have goals for ourselves that we want to set as we go through our school year. So my question is, what active steps do you plan to take towards building your skill set? And this question is going to go to Corinne.
One of my main focuses is my academics, of course. This year I am taking honors classes, so just putting me on the track to get graduated and get into college and do all of the things that I want to do. So that's probably my main thing. But for me to grow, I would like to grow in sports, so I can get a scholarship to college.
That's a great point, Corinne. Academia is very, very important in the school year. And so you have to learn how to balance that with sports and making sure that you keep your academics or your grades up to par so that you continue to be a part of those sports and to hopefully receive scholarships in the future. So I'm going to pose this question to Jenna. What do you plan to take towards building your skill set for school?
I definitely agree with Corinne. I'm taking 4 dual credit classes this year. And so it's very, very important for me to have good grades in those classes so it can prepare me to be able to have good grades in future classes. Also, another goal of mine is to be more involved with my school, and I want to take as many clubs as possible, enough to where I can still feel like I'm doing everything that I want to, but not so much that I get too overwhelmed.
That's great, Jenna. So I know a lot of schools now are incorporating dual credit. And so technically for you, you are a senior and you will be taking dual credit classes for college. And so you do have to stay on top of your academics with that, trying to balance doing schoolwork to finish out your senior year, as well as going into finishing up some of your course credits for college. So good luck to you on that, Jenna. I'm going to pose this to our last council member, which is Kaylen Woodard. What are you planning to do to build your skill set for school?
Currently, I'm working on my organization skills. Right now, organization is key. Last year, it was not a big goal of mine, but this year, organization has helped me a lot in finding everything for each class. Because with me also taking honors classes, it's been very hard. It can be very hard to find every information you're looking for. I've also been taking notes. Notes could be your lifesaver. If you have notes, you can always go back and look before the big test or everything and find out all the information and study hard. And just like Jenna said, I'm trying to join different clubs and everything. Me and a fellow classmate of mine are even thinking about asking to start a dance team at our school.
All right, that's great, Kaylen. Want to get involved in some clubs, and especially a key point is organization. Organization and balance is very important when matriculating through your school term. And so good luck to you and your member who's going to help you start that dance team. I hope that we can get it started. You can tell us more about that in the future. Okay, that concludes my question. I'll turn it over to Dr. Wren.
Thank you, Jasmine. It is so good to hear that you all have set such high goals that are important for yourselves. I'm glad to hear that you've thought about what's key to do to support your own personal growth. So that's wonderful. And as you go through this school year, you have expectations, you have goals. And I know there's one thing that's been very prevalent in the news in the last year here recently, safety issues. I want to know how each of you feel about safety, given the latest Uvalde incident in Texas, school shootings, and all the other things that could occur in school. How do you feel about safety in your school? I'll let you answer that first, Jenna.
I think that Uvalde was terrible. I think that it was such a tragic occurrence. And I feel like in Madison, at Madison Central, I do feel safe at school. I do feel able to go to class and not feel fear. Lately, I've been noticing cops at the school just during class changes, just at this top of the stairs. And while it's safe, I think that it can always be safer. But I'm very lucky to feel safe at my school, and I'm very glad that I feel safe at my school.
Yes, that's good. It's always comforting to know that someone's watching out. So very good. Kaylen, what about you?
Towards the beginning of school, it was kind of hard for me because you go to school every day not knowing what's going to happen, putting your lives in the trust of other people. It could be very hard for some people, but just like Jenna said, there have been cops outside of our school. You see them on a daily, sitting in their trucks or driving around to keep a watch out on the school. But just like as well as Jenna said, it could always be safer. You always feel like you never know what's going to happen. Like you never know if they could already have something here at the school waiting for you just at any moment. And we do lock our doors in every classroom. If you leave and enter, you must lock the doors. But still, there's always something else you could do, because what about the hallways or somewhere else? So you always got to be aware of your surroundings.
Those are very good thoughts, Kaylen, and good measures that your school have already put into motion. Corinne?
I think that our safety of our school, the fact that, like Kaylen said, that we go to the same school, so there are a lot of police officers, and but there's always that one chance that it could be somebody in the classroom. But overall, I do feel safe at my school just because of how close our community is with each other. So I know if anybody will put themselves in front of somebody else, and it's the same for everybody that's around us. So I do feel safe, but there's always the chance that there could be a mishap, but hopefully there's not.
Thank you. Hopefully there's not. And we just have to be high aware. Thank y'all for answering that most serious question, and you've given some thought to it, and that's good as well as your schools. And I'll turn the question over to Erica, who has the last question. She's going to bring us back up. Hi.
Okay, y'all are so insightful, and we appreciate your participation this year in our first inaugural student council. The last question: give one word or one sentence that describes your expectation for yourself. And that question, we'll start with you, Jenna.
My word is proactive.
It's good. Kaylen?
My word would be growth.
All right, I like that. Corinne?
My word would be independence.
Those are some good words. And that's our final question for our podcast today. Dr. Wren, do you have any closing comments?
My last comments was just, this has been great. The MPB Education team, Jasmine, Erica, Germaine has done a wonderful job leading this MPB Student Council this first year. And we are so psyched that all three of you are coming back with us another year, right? We're excited about that. We're excited about the new members that we're going to get, so you can be mentors too, kind of. And so you we'll meet new friends, probably from other parts of the state. And what you've said here today has really touched us. I know, touched my heart to hear that you've learned and that you've grown. And that was a part of our goal, and to produce this podcast that will potentially land on the ears of those folks who will have a change of heart, or might hear something that you've said that might say, let me think about that, or, let me do something to help myself to grow. So kudos to you. I wish you all a very good school year. And of course, we're going to be right there along the way with you. I'll turn it back over to Miss Jasmine.
This has been an awesome episode. I'm so happy that we were able to get together to end off our first year term with the Student Council. You all have done an amazing job, some amazing projects and things that you worked on, and just hearing today has been very insightful. and motivation to us to continue this work, continue this run with student-led projects that are incorporated into public media. So I'm proud of each and every one of you. I'm super excited that you three will be returning with us for another term, and who's to say what else is to come from that. And so I wish you all the best of luck in school and just in life in general. And I will say, get ready, because the second term is coming and you three are going to be our leaders for the next council member. So I'm super proud of you all, and I have enjoyed this podcast and hearing these moments and sharing these member moments with you. And I will turn it over to Erica if she has some last words she would like to share.
Once again, I thank you for your participation. I'm glad you are our first group to participate this year. You have set the bar for the incoming class that will join you.
And last but not least, of course, podcast host who has helped us tremendously with putting our podcast together, Germaine. What are your last words to end off this first year term of the council?
I think you all did an amazing job. I mean, we hit the ground running. We ended up doing 7 podcast episodes. Y'all had, of course, projects with the student council that you all completed. And just to look back on that as a student council member, I would be definitely patting myself on the back and proud, because in addition to all of that, you all balance school at the same time. So, and extracurricular activities and learning, different things. So I really enjoyed the time that we had this year. I look forward to seeing what all you are going to do coming up this next year. And from what Jasmine just said, we got 3 leaders sitting right here. So I already know this is going to be the crew that's going to lead that next student council podcast term into the future. So thank you 3 so much for what you've done this year.
And I'll add thanks to the ones who were not able to join us today due to other commitments that they had with their school or in their personal lives. And thank you to your parents. So you should go and say thank you to your parents for supporting you in this effort, because if it had not been for them, we probably would not have been able to do all the things that we have done with you. So thank you very much to your parents.
Hear ye.
Hear ye. The MPB
Student Council
Podcast
is
now
now
adjourned.
adjourned.
You've been listening to the MPB Student Council podcast. To hear this episode and more, visit education.mpbonline.org or download the MPB Public Media app to listen on your iPhone or Android device. This podcast is hosted with love by ACAST.